Welcome to Season 6, Episode 19 of the Family Travel Australia podcast. We are Paul, Katie and Jasper from the Feel Good family. Join us as we explore this great country, Australia, its people, places and cultures.
Yes, welcome to the Family Travel Podcast, where we share the latest in RV industry news, road trip travel, caravanning, camping, product reviews, where to go, what to do, and so much more. Thanks for joining us for another week.
This week we change plans and escape the floodwaters as we camp off grid in the tiny outback town of Wyandra. Katie and Jasper cook up a ripper soldier's cake on the Weber. We pit stop in Cunnamulla before spending a few amazing days soaking in the hot Artesian bars of Charlotte Plains. Oh yeah.
Absolute bliss. I feel like a marshmallow just remembering how good that was.
Oh my gosh. You know, we've seen these images across Instagram and other travelling families and have thought, gosh, I can't wait to get there. Will it be as good as what the images look? Look, it's incredibly rustic.
Yep.
There's nothing fancy about it at all.
Nope.
The pictures are exactly what you get, and we will get to that shortly. Amazing Charlotte Plains.
I love that. I have to say, some of the best experiences we have had while we've been travelling around this country for the last 3 years have been pretty ordinary when it comes to a standard of class, or there's nothing fancy about them. Like the stay that we had in Barcaldine, where we had the hot Artesian bath in a big old feed bin, that is up there with one of the best things that we have ever done. So it goes to prove that, you know, you don't need, as luxurious and lovely as they are at the time, you don't need all the fancy pants things to actually make an incredible memory.
That is absolutely true. Barky. Yeah, that was...
We have to get back there.
Yeah, that was the number one experience for us in that season, wasn't it?
Yes. I mean, it
Amazing.
Was muddy and dirty and dusty, and we're in the middle of a sheep paddock, and there was nothing for miles and miles around, and we literally were sitting in a big old sheep feed tub soaking, and it was amazing.
It doesn't make it sound as appealing when you say the sheep feed, cow feed tub. But look, the images certainly paint the picture of just what that experience was with that incredible epic outback sunset.
Yep.
But that's not actually what we're here to talk about today.
No, we're not. We're digressing already. Holy dooly.
All right, let's take you back. We're at Quilpie. We are saying goodbye because we were doing the natural sciences loop, which was going to take us out past Erramanga, onto Thugaminda, but the road is closed. In fact, you now can't even get out to Erramanga, so the dinosaurs are soaking in their own pools out there at the moment.
I wonder if that makes it easier or harder for everybody out there working to find these incredible dinosaur bones out there in the outback.
I don't know. I guess they've been sitting there for anything.
A few little floods won't really affect them.
63 to 95 million years, so that's right. I'm sure
Good point.
this is...
They're not just going to float up to the surface.
I'm sure this has been happening many times.
Yeah.
All right. Bye-bye. Quilpie, the lake. If you haven't listened to that podcast, check that out last week. We loved it there.
Fantastic.
On to Wyandra. Now, this is going to be a few hundred kilometres drive. It's 220 kilometres or thereabouts back to Charleville.
Yeah.
We decided to stop back in at the Fox Trap.
Why not?
Another delicious Outback toasted sandwich.
Yeah, and those chips. If you ask Jasper, I mean, you know, any kid out there loves hot chips. The Fox Trap, I think, hold the world record, as Jasper would say, for the best hot chippies he's found along his travels. So thank you to Laurel and Roxanne.
McCain, you've done it again. That's what I reckon.
They were good. That was so good.
All right. And we decided to stop into Charleville at the large IGA. There's downtown IGA, and then there's one sort of on the outskirts of town right along the train tracks there. It is very large, like a mini supermarket, really. Everything that you could possibly need, and super friendly staff. I have to give them a shout out. So we did a quick pit stop, recalibrated our stores, and then continued on down to Wyandra.
Yeah, and quite a fairly easy drive. There was a little bit of low-lying water on the road down to Wyandra, but we had done, all of those safety precaution things that we would encourage you to do if you find yourself in these sorts of weather situations out somewhere remote. We rang through to the Cunnamulla Fella Visitor Information Centre before driving through just to double-check, is the road actually opened, and if it's open, is it safe? They tipped us off that there was still a little bit of water across some of the low-lying areas on that particular road, but that they ensured us it was definitely open, it was definitely safe to travel down. So that, just doing that simple act certainly gave us some peace of mind as well. And look, we've all heard it, we see it on the ads, and we hear it at this time of year, particularly around storm season. If it's flooded, forget it. We strongly recommend, definitely don't go driving through floodwaters. Make sure you do all of those checks, and things can change in an instant. So just really take caution and be prepared when out there. But we certainly didn't have any issues driving through on that road down to Wyandra.
Something amazing were the amount of emus. Because of the amount of rain, we've said it a couple of times over the last few weeks, it's a carpet of green. Well, the wildlife is abundant. There has been some happy wildlife action going on out here because there were more emus than we had really ever seen.
Anyway.
Yeah, and in particular, the amount of emu chicks.
Oh, my goodness. So I started counting because I was like, hey, Jasper, look, there's an emu. Where? Look, out your window. Oh, hang on, there's another one. Oh, look, there's another one on the other side of the road. I got up to 50, and that's the adults, and I said to Paul, I probably should just stop counting. But out of those 50...
It was getting slightly annoying.
It was happening pretty quickly too. It was in the space of about 100 kilometres that we saw this happen. There would have been easily 25 to 30 emu chicks roaming with their dads. If you don't know, the dads look after... The dads actually are amazing. Here's a shout out to all the emu dads out there. You are amazing. The emu mum basically lays her eggs and then she says, I'm out of here, man. Maybe she's been reincarnated as an emu mum and she knows I'm doing what I have to do and I'm out. I'm taking my holiday, my well-earned break. Dad sits on the nest until the babies hatch. When I was researching this, I'm totally digressing, but when I was researching this,
when Kate says researching, she means,
Googling.
Hey Siri.
Yeah, totally.
Or Google.
Yeah, 100%. Dads can lose up to 30%.
Oh, my God. How good is that?
There you go. Thanks, Siri.
Siri never answers Katie. That is the first time that Siri has actually answered you, and it's while we're recording a podcast.
I love it.
Amazing.
Dads can lose 30% of their body weight while they're sitting on the eggs on the nest, which is pretty amazing. They don't eat nor drink until the babies hatch. And then they look after them and they can have those emu chicks with them. I think it's for something like 18 months before they literally fly the coop. So
amazing.
Shout out to all the emu dads out there.
Super dad.
Yes.
All right. Now, Wyandra is a quirky little town. It would have to be the second smallest town in Queensland, really. I mean, it is amazing. You could see that it was a bustling train stop at some point. Unfortunately, the story goes that a little further up the road, back towards Charleville, was Australia's largest ever transport explosion. And it happened when a fertiliser truck ignited as it was coming across this bridge on the main road between this area. But the explosion was so great, the truck driver survived. Now, that is incredible. But the explosion was so great that it measured on the Richter scale They felt it hundreds of kilometres away and they thought that it was an earthquake. And it exploded besides the rail bridge that was next to it and completely took it out. And they stood back and looked at it and went, that ain't going to happen. We're not going to repair that. And so then cut this train line. Amazing story. And there's a memorial plaque and a story that you can pull over and read to really learn about the finer detail, but a very unique and interesting story with, fortunately, a good ending for the driver.
Incredible. And recent history too. I mean, I think it took place, I'm not sure of the exact date, but I want to say somewhere around 2009, 2008. So, you know, not that long ago, but quite a significant event for Charleville. And yet, of course, no more trains. Jasper was a bit devastated to learn that.
So you can see that Wyandra and these little townships like that would suffer from that then, because there's, you know, no more commerce coming through. However, what they've created is a little area behind the town within a kilometre drive called the beach of the Outback. And it is a white, sandy lagoon area. Now, unfortunately, because of the flooding water and the rising waters, this wasn't available for us to go and even check out. But look, again, the pictures look fantastic. So if you're listening to this and you're planning your trip, I would definitely stop in Wyandra. There's also a really fantastic pub. There is a caravan park that is operated. I think it's $20 for a powered site. They have fully fenced, individual, pet-friendly sites.
I think this is awesome.
We've never seen this before. What a cool idea. So you don't even have to worry about putting up your own little fence. You literally just drive through a site and they fence on both ends and you have your own compound, your own little enclosure for you and your furry animals.
I know. I think it's amazing, actually. Not that we have pets, but immediately I thought of your mum and dad, who very sadly don't have their little puppy dog with them anymore.
Had to bring that up, didn't you?
But I did think of them and thought this would be such a great option if you were travelling with your four-legged family member. It's really quirky too, and if it's the pub, it's the post office, it's basically everything that you need in a town, including the little caravan park. We will stay there next time, definitely support that venture, and it looks fantastic and great value.
He also has an old cinema room set up that's open air but roofed, and it shows the old silent films.
How fantastic. So quirky.
Very cool. It even has the original jail on site. And the pub isn't actually there. He is licensed, but the pub is a few doors up, so you can really, you know, stagger home.
Yeah. Yeah, the couple of 100 metres that you'd need to make it. We camped at the donation camp, which basically looked very much like a big old cricket pitch when Paulie put the drone up and we could see the pitch in the middle of the oval. But so much space. They do have some facilities and amenities there. It's run by the community organisation, and so it is a donation camp. They've got cold showers there at the moment. They're hoping to get the hot showers back up and running soon, and obviously all of the funds from the campers go into the maintenance. There's a little camp kitchen there as well, a big communal fire pit. When we were there, guys came in and loaded in a whole trailer load of firewood for campers to use.
Very good.
We just pulled up. We actually found this really great spot on the outskirts of the oval and parked so that our awning was facing out over the adjoining paddocks, so we could watch the wildlife, and there was horses and
wild horses running through, and
just awesome.
Sounds like a song, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But it really was.
I thought you were going to break into song then, Dom.
I almost did. It was really a wonderful aspect, you know. And it's interesting because I was watching how people were pulling in, and you just kind of pull in and then they open the awning, and most of the awnings were facing into the oval to the other campers. So I'm so glad that we were the salmon, the fish that swam up, you know, against the grain, because having that outlook that way back to the, you know, great outback of Outback Queensland is really wonderful. You forget your worries. You're not thinking about anyone else because it's you can't see anyone else.
No, that's so true. And it was really peaceful and really quiet. And the only downside, and I don't know if it was just a time of year thing for us or maybe because of all the rain that they've been getting out there, was the flies.
Yeah, look, isn't this interesting? You dry clean your memories, don't you?
Because I'd forget about the flies.
I'd forgotten about the flies, and now I remember that I'd even had to go for the net again.
Yeah, they were intense. They were so intense, and there's sticky flies out there in Outback Queensland.
That's not a species. That's not a technical name.
They want to be in all of the good parts of you, inside your nose, up your nostrils, in your mouth, in your ears, in the corners of your eyes. They're little sticky flies, but they were pretty bad when we were out there, actually. But that didn't stop Jasper and I cooking up a storm on the Weber.
Look, we had told you about the World War II secret airbase tour and infrastructure back in Charleville, and Luke, our amazing guide who did our tag-along tour. Well, inside that building, inside that hangar, we saw on the wall the soldiers' fruit cake tin, the willow tin cakes. And these were posted by the families to the servicemen and women that were or fighting war in other countries during World War I and World War II. And it was to remind them that we were thinking of you, and here's a little bit of Australia, a little bit of us, our family tradition, our specific fruitcake memory recipe for you.
Yes. Do you know what I love? We recently caught up with Paul's mum and dad for a bit of granny and granddad time. And your mum said, I remember cooking a fruitcake with my mum and sending it to your dad when he was serving in Vietnam during the Vietnam War.
She did a few times.
Goosebumps.
Yeah, amazing. And my dad, just by birth date, I believe, and being the oldest son in his family, was conscripted to Vietnam. He certainly wasn't lining up. He wasn't what he wanted to do. Again, doesn't it just blow your mind? I couldn't imagine, having that sort of decision taken away from you. I mean, not whether you're pro or against this, it's not about that, but not being able to make that decision would be an incredible situation to put yourself in or find yourself in. Anyway, so he was conscripted to Vietnam, and fortunately came back on R&R to marry my mum on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, little sweethearts.
And then he had to go back to the war. But she had sent with her mum a few times these cakes, and the post was free.
Yes.
Which is because we were like, oh, wow, that would have been expensive to send a cake.
Imagine doing that these days, Australia Post. Whew.
Yeah. Mate, they're paying their CEO too much, aren't they?
Well, and they said any letter or parcel or fruitcake sent through the mail to any serviceman or woman during the war times was free, as you would expect it to be. That's a pretty cool service to be able to provide to the whether it's to the serving soldiers or whether it's to the family members back at home. So, yeah,
really
I
fantastic.
just love that she said, I remember we did this.
My dad used to send my mum a reel. So he was recording reel-to-reels.
Voice letters.
Every single week, and he would send them back to her. Yeah, it makes me feel emotional too. We've listened to some of these.
They're so beautiful.
Yeah, totally off topic here. We should get my dad and mum on a podcast.
That'd be
an amazing story. But yeah, so back to the fruitcake. Now, we've learnt from this experience. That's the best way I could talk about the fruitcake.
Yeah, look. We've never attempted anything like this before. We saw the recipe up on the wall at the World War II secret base back in Charleville. Paul said, wouldn't it be good to give that a go on the Weber? I was like, yeah, sure. We had to go to the op shop, find ourselves a cake tin.
That's a great tip, actually. We went in, because I went around town and even was suggested to go to the hardware store. They'll have a cake tin there. And I think they did actually have a cooking setup, and it was like $129. I was like, it's going to be the most expensive fruit cake. No, thanks. Op shop. This lady said to me, why don't you go to the op shop? was $5, and it's this beautiful old cake tin.
It is a sweet little cake tin, and it certainly did the job. Thank you to everybody who commented to remind us that we actually need to use the convection tray or alfoil, or we've had people suggest an old dinner plate or even the pizza stone underneath the trivet. That obviously helps disperse the heat and stops the bottom from burning. We didn't do that. But I tell you what, considering we had a slight little crunchy layer of burnt bottom on the cake and the outsides were a little bit more well done than I would like, the inside of that fruitcake was so moist and so delicious. I was really impressed that we pulled it off and managed to actually be able to bake something that we could eat.
It was delicious. And this recipe called for all of these different dried fruit ingredients and some brandy, which obviously, cooks off the alcohol when it's cooking. But it was so good. And it lasts. This cake was massive.
Yeah.
We've still got some in the freezer. You can freeze it and it will last and last and last. Amazing.
Yeah, fruitcake's amazing. So, no, that was really fun, and I'm inspired to make a Christmas cake now that we kind of know what we're doing, and we'll take everybody's tips on board and actually set the Weber up right next time.
Yeah.
Hopefully avoid it being burnt. But, geez, it was delicious and a great fun activity to do with the kids. Jasper is so into cooking and helping in the kitchen, so anything that we can do to get him involved is just awesome.
Love it, and such a delicious outcome. The only thing that was missing was double dollop cream.
Yeah. I'll make sure to churn some up next time.
It's not readily available out in these parts.
Well, certainly not in Wyandra anyway.
All right, on to Cunnamulla, which is another 100 kilometres down the road, just for a pit stop. Now, there's plenty of stories to share around Cunnamulla, the Cunnamulla Thulla. There's parking at the Visitor Information Centre normally. We couldn't get in because I think the road had been closed because of the water that had, settled along the side of that road. But we pulled around to the local park, which was next door in the centre of Cunnamulla, to fill up our water tanks because we're heading to Charlotte Plains. So Cunnamulla is going to be for another time. Yeah,
it will. Look, I'm really keen for us to, as part of our off-grid lap, and, we're making our way down Season 7. We're going to start at the top of Queensland and make our way down and around this awesome country of ours again. But I think when we do find ourselves back at the top of Queensland, we'll do the Matilda Way, which is the epic, quintessential Australian road trip that will see us end in Cunnamulla.
Love it. So fill our water tanks and we are on to Charlotte Plains. Now, the main entry road to Charlotte Plains is flooded.
Actually, it's all of the main entries to Charlotte Plains, because there are a couple of different access points depending on which campground or where you were staying are closed. But very fortunately for us, they had opened what they refer to as their wet weather access road. It is the Yellow Bucket Road. And here's a little tip for you, because they'll send you a map with some handwritten instructions on it. The bucket is not big.
It's like this. When they say, turn right at the, if you're coming from Cunnamulla, you're heading east, turn right at the Yellow Bucket. I was expecting
one of those big feed buckets. That's what I was expecting.
Yeah. No,
it's not. It's a yellow bucket hanging in a tree. You will see it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but just a good tip to know that it is smaller than what you may anticipate it to be.
Yeah. Now, we pulled up here and they said, look, just stick to the middle as you're driving. There are some,
It is wet, but you'll be right. It is open.
Fairly short puddles. I'm talking a foot to 2 foot deep.
Holy dooly.
And I'm like, right, I'm putting the drone up. You're driving. Freak out. I did
have a little bit of a panic.
I was like, just drive. We're starting to have this little blow up. And fortunately, another van came flying in. And so we kind of had to move. And so I was like, all right, well, we'll drone on the way out.
Phew, massive sigh of relief, because as we're driving further and further in along this Yellow Bucket Road, it's getting wetter and wetter and muddier and muddier.
The van's sliding out.
Oh, my God. I'm in the passenger seat freaking out. Paul's driving. Thankfully, I mean, the Land Cruiser was amazing. The 79 series just ate it up. It ate it up, doll.
It looked more hectic than it was.
Oh, it was
Do you know
freaky.
what I mean? Like, as soon as I hit the first puddle, I thought, you just have to go. You just keep momentum. You don't have to rush. You know, it's not about that. It's just keep moving. You know, if you stopped, you'd probably go. You know.
Look, I tell you what, it certainly was a good initiation for us. It was the first real time of getting the 79 and the zone into those sorts of conditions. Our beautiful, clean, white caravan was no longer.
No,
but
that's true.
That's all part of the fun. It was awesome to actually rock in and get out of the truck and just see all the mud and dirt splattered up the sides and really go, yeah, okay, all right, we did that. That's cool.
We were pretty impressed with ourselves.
Yeah.
So we said hello, beautiful family that are also full-time travellers. Well, I've actually stopped and signed on a long contract to manage the Charlotte Plains property, and they are perfect for it. He's a tradie and is putting in brand new amenities and putting in boardwalks and really giving the place some lift as far as the accessibility, but also the experience. You know, he's making it just more enjoyable to be able to get in and around and just be able to hop straight into hot baths or, you know, without maybe slipping or, I think they've done an amazing job by getting this family on board.
Yeah, fantastic, and so great to be greeted by friendly faces, and it's a kind of pull up where you want situation out there at Charlotte Plains, and there is so much space, particularly if you are, and this would be our hot tip, going during the off-peak seasons. We've heard that school holidays can get quite hectic out there, and for good reason. Everybody wants to get out and enjoy Charlotte Plains for what it is. We found a great little campsite further along down the watercourse under some beautiful shady trees. What they've done fantastic, I think, is install the old baths all the way along. So there's plenty for everybody. And our little campsite had 2 little baths beside a beautiful tree and some fairy lights and a little deck. I mean, it was just, you kind of pinch yourself. You're like, where did we just land? Like, where is this?
It's in the middle of Outback, southwest Queensland. Fantastic. And what was really great was that even though we parked under a tree, we put the Starlink up. We've got Starlink Rv.
Yes.
We've changed our subscription. I actually do a review for 3 months review, the follow-up review on that. That's coming up in a couple of weeks, so I won't give that away now. But yeah, absolutely fantastic. It still worked.
And so it's good to note also that there is no phone reception out there at Charlotte Plains. In fact, of all of our travels out here in southwest Queensland, the stretch between Cunnamulla and St George was really the only stretch that didn't have any Telstra phone signal at all. Charlotte Plains has no service. They do have Wi-Fi up near the little hut where you check in, and there's some bathrooms and things there as well, so you can connect to their Wi-Fi, but you won't get any phone reception. And that was so amazing about the Starlink, is that we were able to still make phone. I was able to call my dad, which was just so awesome, using the Starlink and check in and see how he was doing. And
we did a video call in one of the bars and people were like, how are you guys doing that?
Yeah.
And we're like, Elon.
Yeah.
We've got to thank Elon
Love
Musk.
it.
All right. Other things to note about this, they do have a private bath set up now, which looks very polished, you know, brand new at the shearer's quarters, which is a fair way away from this, I guess, more common area.
Unfortunately, again, due to all of the wet, the roads in to access that particular part of the property were closed. That's on our next time we visit list.
Yes, there's plenty of wildlife. There are feeding and farm tours that happen, again, when it's not so wet.
Yeah.
You can collect your own firewood, and there was plenty of firewood, so you can have an open fire.
Yep.
Which is, as long as it's contained and you're managing it. Fantastic. The bore water's coming out at 42 degrees Celsius at the head, which is just a really stunning, area. And then as you get down the water course, it cools down with each step, really.
Yep.
So in the summer, you could still go there. They're opening through the entire summer this year.
Wow.
Yeah, which you'd think, hot Artesian Springs. But as you get further and further away, it cools down, and it would, I think, still be just such a beautiful environment.
Stunning, yeah.
Plenty of shady areas to camp if you want to be under the shade.
It's kind of like the place that you need to go after you've done an epic road trip, like coming back in from Birdsville or coming down the Matilda Way. It's kind of like the spot you want to go and have a couple of days of R&R, soak in those artesian waters that are, you know, so full of all of those good minerals and so good for our bodies. It's like the perfect pit stop after an epic road trip.
Amazing. Our favourite experience was that we got up and headed over. We were the first ones into the... There's 4 main baths at the head that you can fill up and look back out over the bore, and they allowed us to camp right up on the bore to get some great shots for the actual property, which was good for us and good for them. And we, at 5 a.m, went out, set up the time-lapse cameras to watch the sunrise. Wow, Jasper's still asleep, but we could see him and the van. So it was like, this is one of the most very unique moments where, as a couple, we were able to just... you know, you want to go back there? Yeah, it was fantastic. It was just such a highlight for our travels.
Yeah, really, really awesome and really special to have just that little time out. All the other travelling parents out there, I feel you. You're nodding. It's really important to have those little moments where you can reconnect with your partner or just have a minute to yourself. So that made it even more special for us. All
right, let's talk about the takeaway for this week, and it is get out of your comfort zone. It's where the juice of life happens.
Yeah, it's so good. I really love this. And, you know, before you get yourself into the ability to step outside your comfort zone, it's a really scary prospect, and things just feel bigger than they are. And, you know, there's safety in being comfortable, you know, but there's also... that is it being stagnant, you know, you just you don't move
lukewarm
forward.
My dad refers to it as, you know, the lukewarm bath. It's good, you know, everything's easy, it's okay, it's a little bit indifferent, you know, you're just plodding along.
And look, that's, you know, for a lot of people that's the great place to be. But certainly for us, we love pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone, because what we've experienced since taking what felt like that first massive risk and leap into packing up our lives and stepping into a totally unknown and foreign lifestyle is that when we do push ourselves outside of that comfort zone, holy dooly, man, we have some seriously amazing experiences. We stretch ourselves. We achieve and accomplish things that we never thought would be possible. And we can look back on that and just say, wow, wasn't that cool? Like we got to experience that. Yeah.
That's what happens, you know. And I look at Katie and... because I'm like, just drive. I've got a drone. Just get over it.
I did. I drove out of Charlotte Plains.
And at the other side of it, well, I crashed the drone. Let's not talk about that. Rookie. But Kate, was she just buzzing? Like
I was pretty nervous knowing that I had to drive out. And yes, we'd had a couple of days of sunshine, so it was a little bit drier on the way out, but there was still some pretty hairy moments, and certainly one moment where I said to Paul, I can't do this. I cannot do this. We need to swap. What did you say to me, Dom?
All the words or just some?
He gave me some fairly strong encouragement.
Look, you know, and if I'd felt that it was dangerous, or, you know, and we even talked through that part of it, I said, what's the worst thing that can happen? We get bogged, you know, pull out the Starlink, get on the blower. They actually put you on channel 26, I think, or 28. You contact the homestead and they come and they tractor you out. Yeah. You know, and I mean, that's the worst thing that can happen.
Yeah, true. But there you go. So it's all about pushing your limits, getting yourself outside of your comfort zone. It really is where the juice of life is.
It's where the magic happens, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And you stretch yourself. You know, you find yourself doing stuff that just a few minutes ago you didn't think you could do, and then you do it. And you're high-fiving yourself. It's awesome.
I think you're amazing.
Thank you.
And look, as far
I
as
think you're amazing too, darling.
me stretching myself, it's really only been the waistline. But beside that, some of the caves that we've been in,
Yes.
I would never ever put myself in that situation, and I hope to never have to do it again. But we still did it.
I'm sure we will. There's
I know.
plenty more caves around the country for us
I'm
to
like,
explore.
right, I just suck it up and do it, you know. And on the other end of it, I'm not maybe any less fearful, but I'm like so achieved. I feel like I could take on the world, you know.
And that's exactly what it is. And it's all of those things, you know, and that rush of adrenaline as well. And so, yeah, get outside your comfort zone. Don't have to do a massive leap, but just take some small steps. Push the boundaries just a little bit.
Love it. Okay, let's wrap it up there. Next week, we detour via New South Wales.
Huh.
It's great.
Who would have thought?
Absolute crazy. We go to Queensland's oldest pub. It's got a great story there. We camp at Queen Mary Falls.
Oh, one of our favourite places.
Absolutely love it. We drop into Nakey, our great mates at Nakey.
Love this. Learn all about how these guys operate their business, their ethos, their whole saving the world, you know, go get 'em attitude. It is infectious. These guys are amazing.
And Jasper becomes
we put him to work.
A little employee for them. Gee, he had so much fun. And we visit Artvo, one of the most unique museums that you could ever experience.
Yep. Awesome.
That is all coming up next week. For now, we'll say dream big, look after yourself, look after your family.
And happy trails.
Feel the journey, feel the love, feel good family.
Fantastic.
Another awesome week. Definitely recommend checking out Charlotte Plains and getting out there. They've been hammered with unseasonal rain out there in southwest Outback Queensland. So they've been sort of forced to close and open, but certainly put it on your spots to go and camp. We loved it out there.
So fantastic. And the last thing we'll say is if you are in some of these affected areas that, you know, absolutely getting pummeled by rain and more to come, please stay safe. If it's flooded, forget it. Phone ahead, get the advice, speak to the experts and look after your family.
See you next week.
See you then. Bye.
Bye.